I'm not sure if you guys got this part. Let me remove that. Let's talk about from the first. So if are called if and else are called conditional statements, where those statements will be executed only if it evaluates to true. So in our case, we are going to write if. Yeah. So and we'll open a block here by using curly braces, which means that when this if is satisfied, which means that the value which we are passing into if is evaluated to true, it's going to execute all the statements underneath. Let's see that. Now let me check. A is equal to 10, right? A is 10 and B is 20. Let's say A equal to 10. If only if A equal to 10, let's say this, saving it. When we go to the browser, we can see that it says it is a success. Okay, okay, I have multiple lines to comment. We see that if A equal to 10, we said that if A is equal to 10, print it is success. We can have multiple lines here. We can say it's success. Printed. We can say multiple statements underneath. But when this condition evaluates to false, let's say A not equal to 10, now it is going to fail because actually A is 10. So when I save it, you won't be seeing anything here. So these are the use of conditional statements. When you say that I've given you a condition, evaluate it. If it becomes true, do this thing. That's what you're saying. Like, yeah, I'll give you the typical example which you will see everywhere. Let's so instead of saying as age, I'm calling it as age, and it's going to be just going to check if that age is greater than or equal to 18. Now the obvious thing is go to vote. Saving it. Now you can see that the value is 24 and we are comparing it with 18. So if that age is greater than 18, now which means that 24 is greater than or equal to 18, since this evaluates to true, we will be having this code executed. But if this age is, let's say, 12, save it, and yeah, it's not going to get executed. So but it's not always the case that we have only a if condition. We will have a else condition, like a fallback thing. So here we said that you're good to vote, but in else what it does is if this if condition fails, it's going to jump into else. So whatever that value could be, but it doesn't matter. If this fails, it's going to jump into else. So let's say go home. Sorry. So now you can see that the age is 12, and we are trying to see if that 12 is greater than 18, which is definitely a false value. And since that was false, it jumped into the else part of the code and it did not execute the if part. So this is called as a conditional statement, and whatever you throw in here is called as a conditional expression. So it's going to evaluate to true or a true t value, which we will talk later, a bit later. Yeah. So this is a simple example, and there is one more thing called as else if, where you can introduce much more conditions in between the if and else. So here we just saw that this is just we are passing an age and seeing if that person can vote or not. We will write something for the age group. Let's say if uh, mm, age, if that age is greater than equal to 65, greater than or equal to 65, let's log a statement called elderly, and usually we'll write else, but in this case now we have much more conditions to check, because in age groups we have a bunch of things, not just two values. So here I'll write else and if. So this is how it is written. Else if, you'll you cannot write it together, you have to have a space in between. Else if, we will give a different condition here. I'm not sure if you noticed, we don't have any condition for else, because else is executed whenever any statement before it false gets false. But in this case we are providing another expression. If that expression evaluates, it's going to go into this else if block. So each as, let's say one is probably in months. I'm going to just represent it with decimals. It's less than one, I'm going to say log baby. Saving it. Else, I'm adding another statement here. Else if maybe I'm not going to add everything here. So now what we are going to see is, so here we have the values actually, either they are less than something or greater than something. This worked for 1 and 65 because they are at the extremes. But here for the next condition we are going to check if some value is between a certain range. Let's say we cannot use the one values under 1 here, because we cannot check if age is less than 18. Let's call it as grown up. Yeah. So, what happens is I'm going to provide this value as 0.5. So it now evaluates to baby because the age is less than 1. But if this statement was before this, saving it, and now you can see it says not a grown up, or let's name it as a kid. Yeah. So now it says a kid, which is actually not correct because it's just a baby. So we can see that there is a flaw in our logic, where it should have been a baby. So now here what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if that value is between specific range. So this age should be greater than 1. We'll introduce a new operator called as a Boolean operator, where I'm going to call it as AND. So this is AND. Mm, this is how you will write AND, which means that both of the uh, operations, the one on the left, on the right, they both should evaluate to true to make that whole expression true. So I think you know the basic AND and OR gates. And we have OR. So this is how you represent OR. This symbol is called a pipe, and yeah, this is ampersand. So you have to type it twice it's not a mistake. That's how you do it. So, and also we have this or uh, now, yeah, I've typed it and done. So which means that 8 should be greater than 1, and or it should be less than equal to 1, and it should be less than 18. So when I save this now, you can see that it goes away from kid, and it actually prints baby because this condition did not satisfy now. Our logic has been corrected. Now let's make it as it's 4 or 5. So in the case of else, we'll have something called as let's say adult. Yeah. So that's how save it. You can see that it says adult because it's actually reaching to the last else part because none of the things above it got satisfied. So this is else. Yeah, this is if else. And also remember that any if statement, if you have written one if and it ends right away, uh, like there is no need for you to write a else, but even if you write it belongs to this if, and these two are totally different. Okay, because some people get a confusion that whether if executes, will this execute too. Yes, this will execute because these two are totally different conditional statements. Only the things called as else if else are related to the specific if. So yeah, that's one of the conditional statements. Moving on, we have something called as a switch case. We have something called as a switch where you will pass a value to this and you will get some certain actions performed based on that value. Here, instead of this, I'm going to take a grade, okay, and this variable will be actually passed into this switch. So this is a syntax of switch where you will write switch, and inside parenthesis you will write an expression and open curly braces. Switch, the syntax of switch case is a little weird. Uh, yeah, I think that's not complicated. So here what I'm going to do is I will write a case. So when this case matches, the statements below this case are going to get executed. So let's say I'm taking, yeah, it's having a value a, that's why it's suggesting me that. So you have to put the case space, uh, the expression, the space was not required because of the code. Okay, you put the value which you should match for this, and which is a, and you put a colon here. So this is the actual syntax for switch case, and underneath that you will be writing the statements which you want them to execute. Here, saving it, and you can see that the grade is a, and that's how this statement got executed. Let me put another statement here. Have score here. Now we can see both of the statement got executed because all these come under this specific case. I'm going to write a case B here. So, B, okay. Now you can see that there is something wrong in the code. And come on to the lines here. Yeah, you can see there is something wrong in the code. I'm just passing a here, so it says grade, and we are passing the value as a, and it's actually printing me the whole thing, which is totally wrong. So for that we have something called as a break, which you should write after every case where you need it to break. So only if I add this break statement, it's going to stop that execution after this case is matched. So yeah, that is one of the things which you should always remember. And also there is a different, okay, there is something which you can modify here. We just wrote lines underneath this case after this colon, which is not preferred, and it's not actually, it can get messy if the code is large. So in that case, you can have a block here. I'm just adding curly braces and pasting that code in. Now you will be clearly able to see that how many lines are coming underneath this case. So yeah, it's just for more visibility. So if I did not introduce this break, it's going to print me all the lines which is coming after A. But you must understand that only if that value matches, it's going to do anything underneath it. But if it does not match, it's not going to perform any action. So I'm going to put it as C, and you can see that nothing is visible in the console because there is no C to match here. It only has A and B. Since it matched A and we did not have a break, it actually continued to execute all the lines after it. But it has to find that match. Now, if I put B, yeah, it's going to say that you have scored B, and only print this. So it is executed in order. It first checked A. Since it did not match, it went to next. So even if we have another statement here, this might work, but the A will not get printed because the condition up here failed, and only then it came here. So let's say B, C. Yeah, you can see that after B, since it matched B, and then I did not add a break here, it worked. Okay, it actually printed C2. Now since I've added a break and saved it, now you can see it prints only B. But for the last case, you don't need to add anything because there is no other statement after C inside the switch. So, but it's, yeah, it's a general good practice here. And you saw that we have a else, right? So in else, whenever there is not, there is no condition which gotten satisfied before this else, we have multiple conditions here, right? When none of them gotten satisfied, it will come to else. In similar way, we have something called as a default in the switch case. So when it is always written at the last, so yeah, if none of these grades got matched, let we will say, um, saving it, and I'm going to type y and save it. Now we can see that since it did not match anything here, it's going to say that that's not even a grade because, yeah, it's not matching with any of the values inside the switch case. So yeah, this is the switch case and how you should use it. I actually did not mention much about the Boolean operators. Talk about that now. See, A equal to 10 and B equal to 20. save it, and you will be able to see true because yeah, those two values are matched. So A is 20, 10 and B is 20, and we have a and symbol in between. So both of these expressions evaluated to true, which when combined will result in true. So for a AND operator, both the parties should agree. But if I add another statement here, and if one fails, let's say A equal to 1, and if the one expression evaluates to false, it's going to be false. So both, so simply put, everything that you have together with AND should be resulting in a true value. If it does not, it's going to throw us false. So it is quite opposite with the case of OR. So OR is where even if one expression evaluates to true, it's going to be true. I'm going to save this. You can see the same thing written here. This is using AND. It says this expression is false, but when I use OR, it says that this expression is true. That's because it checks for A equal to 1, and it is false, and it checks for B equal to 20, which is true, and it got that one of the values was true. That's fine for me, and it took that as true. So that's how OR works. And I think only these two. What is this? One moment. Yeah, we saw about switch case. Okay, I think we went past the variables and we've added so many things here. Let me take this, save this file, add a new file here. Save it, and yeah, I'm going to comment. Okay. These files, we have the name. So yesterday we saw this example where we have added two input fields here, and it did not do anything. So today I'm going to show you how to do something with them. So yeah, this file is going to contain a function where add two numbers. I think we saw this in the main file. Let me copy the same from that file. Two numbers. So yeah, we have these two numbers. Now what we are going to do here is, so JavaScript is a language which is actually event driven. So whenever an event happens in a browser, that's when it reacts. So we had the reactions to that specific event in our code. That's what we do. So if you click here, that's actually an event, and anything that you are even moving your mouse in this page is actually an event. So it's a event driven language. And here what we are going to do is, we have a button, uh, as you know that if there are, yeah, if you have buttons we can click them. So what we can do with that event is, So for a button, we can add on click, so which is called as an event handler. Okay. So what happens is whenever whenever the click action happens on this button, it's going to trigger something. That something is called as a function. So we are going to pass in a function. We are going to write a function and then pass that function here. That is going to do all the work. So first we will write that function. We would need this function to, but yeah, I'm writing a different function here called on click. So, so we have this function keyword, then followed by its name. Then we have this parenthesis inside which we can provide the parameters. So we have a default. We will be sending a default parameter called as an event. It is actually referred by using $event. So this is just a variable name which we are introducing here. So this is one of the arguments for this on-click function. It's not restricted to an event, but you can send any here. So you can type any value from here and send it. So, but all we need is the event. Let me show you that. So on click, I'm calling that function called as on click. Let me add this event inside the console log $event, since it is just a variable. I'm saving it. Yeah. And I'm also adding on click here. I will pass the event, save it, saving it. But nothing happened. That is because we haven't imported this file to the code, and also we haven't clicked anything yet. So we have to import that file here, submission.js, saving it. Uh, Once I click that file, you can see something is printed out. So this is actually the event object. So let's get into object later, but I'm just showing you how you would be doing things here. So this is called as an event. So this has multiple things underneath it. It will actually take time if you go through every single thing here. So all you need to know is, so there are a bunch of events. You cannot know all the events, you cannot remember all the events. All you need to remember is some certain events which you need. So on click is a this most basic event. Whenever you click somewhere, it's going to trigger this event. When I click on this, it's actually making a, yeah, it is this structure of this thing is going to be complicated, but it's making us to view it more easily. When I expand it, yeah, it is showing me whatever is inside that object. So we can see a bunch of details available regarding that event. So this means client X and client Y means where the mouse was in this browser. So that's what these two values mean. And we have a lot of things. Maybe whether did you click? Yeah, this control key means if I had clicked that mouse, click that button with the control key, you could have seen this as true. Let me show you that. I'm pressing control in my keyboard, and yeah, okay, let me click command. Yeah, I think for me I'm using a command key here in Mac. If you use the same in Windows, it would be control. Here I'll be having something called as a meta key. So let me now click without using the command key. You will be seeing that the meta key would be false because I did not press it using the command key. But in this first scenario, I was pressing the command key and as well as this button. So yeah, that's what happened here. So these are just details about that specific event, just that click event, what happened, where it happened, and what else was happening around it. So that's what all of these details contain. So yeah, we can also see the type of it here. So yeah, and this target is one of the most important properties inside this event. So target refers to the element which has been clicked. So this is an event object, and this target is going to refer to this button element. So that is what we clicked, right? So it's going to refer us to the button element. Yeah. Now our goal is to add the two numbers when these two, yeah, when the add button is clicked. For that, we would need to take the value from this add. Yeah, we need to take the value from these two boxes which we type in, and then add them together and print it out in the screen. So that's how it's going to work. For that, okay, in this example, I have not added form here. Let's see. I'm just going to add a form. I'm just moving this code into the form. So the action is not going anywhere from this form, and let's name it as addition form. Saving it. In browser, this whole thing that you see is called as a window. So for this specific page, it is called as a window, and it has all the details about what you are viewing. So you'll have a width called as inner width. uh, Window is actually an object. Let me simply say what an object is. So object is a special data type uh, where it has a key here. It's actually a key value pair where you'll have a key. So this is a key, and after colon you will have a value. So that is simply how an object looks like. So this is what an object is. Do not confuse it. So these curly braces are also used for blocks, but that is not same as an object. Now it is an object. You will see the difference when you write it. So this is an object, and in same way we have an object called window in the browser itself. It is available when you type in the console. Window is an object. When I press enter, it's going to print that object. You can see it starts with the curly braces. It has multiple things, and this add to number, you can see that here, right? So this is actually the one that we have added here. So that's what is also saved in window. So this window is called as a global object. So where it is available throughout the page, wherever in your code you will be able to access this window. So it is actually quite big. You can see the scroll bar here, which is very small. I scroll it, yeah, it's very big, and yeah, it is only displaying a fewer items here. If you expand it, you will have much more underneath. Yeah, this is where the all the functions that you're trying to use in JavaScript are going to reside. So anything that you need or anything that JavaScript works with is everything inside this window. So in this case, what I'm going to show is, yeah, inside the window we have something called as a document. So when I type in, you can see that, right? When I type document, it's actually highlighting this whole page, because this whole page is actually the document. We also talked, right? HTML is actually the document. This whole HTML document is what is inside this document variable. So this document itself is inside the window object. Window.document will give me the same thing as when I type in the document. So the browser is just giving us a shorthand for typing window.document. You can directly refer most of the things inside window just by typing their names instead of typing window.name. So this is how you will refer a value inside an object by using a dot notation. And there is one other way to refer. We will look into that later. Just remember that now for now we'll be using dot. So with dot I'm saying that window has a, so how this looks like is, this is an object. uh, this object is actually the window, and just typing like this. So this is actually the window, and inside window we have a document. So this is how you will have a key inside the window itself, and that document itself is an object. So you can chain objects inside and inside. So this document itself is an object, but you can see that when I print the document, it's actually printing it like a HTML structure. So this is just uh, the this is just something that the browser does for you to easily view an HTML element here. So when I expand it, you will be able to see all the code that you have written here. When I hover on it, it's going to link to that page itself. So here we have something called as document dot forms. When I type that, we can see there is one form here. You can see that here, right? So this is the actual form which we have in our code. So this is the form that it's referring to. So you can type document.forms and get the specific form. I can say and sorry, yeah, we have it in a list here. So I think I have to talk about arrays. So array is just a collection of values. So this is actually the collection of values where you can have multiple values here. It could be anything. It's not necessary that everything has to be of same type. I'm typing a number, I'm typing a string, I'm typing a boolean value, I'm typing a, let's have an object here too. So this is called as an array, where you can save multiple items. It could be of same type, or it could be of different types. So it's called as heterogeneous. So this array can, the only purpose of having an array is to have a list of values. So you'll have multiple values of same type. So that's when you'll have an array. So you can see that here. So array is actually a type of object, which can be confusing. Just forget about that for now. You will understand that clearly once you understand what an object is more deeply. So for now, just remember, yeah, obviously object is just a key value pair, but that value could be of many types. So in that is the same case here. We have this list. So list, yeah, call it as array. So the array values can be referenced by a number. So those numbers start from zero. You might have heard about this. This is called as an index. So 12 here is referred by using 0, and 3 here would be referred by using 1. So always if you're thinking about arrays, all the values are going to start from 1. Sorry, all the values are going to start from 0. Yeah, from 0, and then yeah, it just continues from 0, 1, 2, 3. So in this form that we saw, let me go give you this quick example. Values. I'm creating a variable in the browser itself. Uh, Saving it. I think I mistyped something here. Suppose everything is correct. Yeah, everything is correct. If I type that value called array of values and press enter, now we can see that this variable is stored, and it is returning all these values which we typed. You can see we have different kinds of values in this array. Now, if I want to pick this first value, I can just type array of values of 0. So we have to put square brackets, and inside that we will be typing the index of it. So if I want the third value, I should put 2 because the index starts from 0. Yeah, you can see that the third value is 13, which is a number. These two are strings. So I can get the number out by uh, using index of 2. So in the example which we saw, yeah, here when I expand it, you can see that it is actually a array itself. That is how it is not shown here with this brackets. Here it's in the first value. The form which we have created is in the first value, and also there is one more thing that is shown here, which is the additional form. That is because we have added a name to it, right? Here I've added a name for it. I'm going to remove that name and save it here. Now when I type document form, you can see that it has only one value, because I did not add a name here. If I add a name, you'll be able to refer it using the name. So I'm just going to say the name as form, and now I'll be say forms. Here I can also refer to the first element by using of 0, which will return me that this whole form, or else I can use this name which I mentioned in the code. You can type forms dot form, which again is referring to the same form. If I hover on this, you can see. So both are the same things. It's just that we are picking that form by using two different ways. One is using the name, and one is using the index of from this array. Yeah. So now what I'm going to do is we have this form. Now we need the values inside these two boxes. Let me go to the first page. Sorry, let me go to the script file, which is the summation.js. Here in code, I'm going to do the same thing. You saw that we can access this form by using document.forms. So here I'm going to say form. I'm creating a variable called form equal to document.forms.form. So this is the name we have given for this form here, and that is what I'm using right now. Yeah, that is what I'm using this here, and I'm just going to console log here so that you will be able to see that it is the same thing that we have printed out in the console. Yeah, it is the same thing. So it's just showing to us that it is like a HTML, but it's actually not an HTML. It's actually an object. So inside this form, I can, yeah, there is one way in which you can refer to the elements inside. Okay, let's forget about that. I hope you guys remember about the selectors which we saw in CSS. So that is also needed here. So what we are going to do here is we are going to use a selector to pick up only one of the values from this HTML, which is, let's take it using this ID. So the value will be typed into this input element, right? You can type anything here. So I need the value from that input. So what I'm going to do is inside this form, I can do something called form dot by ID. Okay. So this is a method inside the form object. This is called get element by ID. So I think the name itself explains everything. So you are trying to search an element inside this form because we know that it is like a tree structure, right? We have written the form, and inside it we have written the input elements, which is containing this ID. I'm just going to take that ID and say, okay, I think we have to use document here. with form there is some some other way to use this. So we have to use document.getElementById, by id, so which is going to search this entire document and see to find the specified id is present inside the document. So yeah, I'm coming back to browser. It actually did not throw any error because it actually found that element. I'm going to name it as first name element. So and going to log the scene. We are actually not using this for now. I'll show you a different way in which you can pick the element from using this form. So here I'm using, yeah, what I've done is I've just printed out this input element. When I hover it, yeah, you can see that what I have done is I have taken that input element through the code, and now using JavaScript I will be able to do anything to that element. So literally anything, because actually anything that you see in this page itself is a JavaScript object. So it is actually constructed as object and then viewed in the page. Now inside this, when I type, let's untick, and what I'm going to do now is add a console log inside this function, on click function, and since I have this element already, I'm going to type dot